At 1 in the morning, my phone buzzed beside my pillow with the kind of vibration that pulls you out of sleep before you understand why. I reached for it blindly, expecting another fraud notification or an automated bank alert. Ever since I wired $680,000 to rescue my daughter and her fiancé from their debts, those alerts had become a quiet echo in my life. But the screen glowed with a different name. Lila, my daughter. Her message appeared in a clean blue bubble, as calm and casual as a weather update. I know you paid the $680,000 to settle everything, but Jordan's mother doesn't want you at the wedding. It's better if you don't come. For a moment, I stayed completely still, as if moving would make the words settle deeper. They were already settling, though. They slid into me with a weight I recognized too well. A familiar ache. The kind that does not erupt but sinks. I read it twice. 3 times. Each time, it remained precise. No apology. No hesitation. A decision already made, delivered like instruction. I sat up slowly, the room dim around me. My name is Halcyon Ames. I am 68. My daughter's wedding was 3 weeks away. I had pictured being there only because I believed I still belonged somewhere close to her life. Tonight's message told me otherwise. A second bubble arrived. Please don't make this harder. Jordan's family has a certain vision, and I need things to go well. She needed things to go well. That was the part that pressed a cold palm to my chest. Not the uninviting, not the deference to her future mother-in-law, but the assumption that I was the variable that ruined her picture. After everything I had carried, after everything I had sold and signed away, I typed one word: noted. My thumb hovered for a moment, not because I doubted the word, but because I understood what sending it meant. It wasn't anger. It wasn't surrender. It was a door closing softly. The kind that closes because there is nothing left on the other side to reach for. I set the phone on the nightstand and let the quiet expand. It felt different than other nights. No spiraling worry. No guilt twisting in my ribs. Only a strange, steady clarity. Lila didn't know the whole truth. She didn't know that when she begged me for help, crying in my kitchen about overdue notices and ruined credit, I didn't just transfer money. I drew up a contract with my attorney, a secured loan agreement with repayment terms, dates, and collateral they signed without reading. They were desperate. I was tired. And I needed something. Anything that protected me from drowning in the same cycle again. She had forgotten that part. Or maybe she never believed I would enforce it. Meanwhile, Jordan's mother had stepped into the space my daughter once kept for me, Colleen Waverly of Lake Oswego. A woman who measured her worth in how well others performed for her. A woman Lila admired in ways she never admired me. I had felt that shift long before tonight. I leaned back against my pillows. The air cool on my arms, my breath steady. Something in me was shifting too, not breaking, not hardening, just settling into its rightful shape. The message had ended one version of our story. Another was beginning. One I had not expected to enter with such calm. By morning, I would need to look at the contract again. The date mattered, the timing mattered, and the truth would matter more than it ever had. The morning after Lila's message, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea that had already gone cold. My hands wrapped around the mug anyway, not for warmth, but for something steady to hold while my mind drifted back to the beginning of it all. It had been 11 months earlier. Lila showed up at my apartment without calling, her mascara smudged, her breath trembling. She stood in the doorway as if stepping inside required permission she no longer felt entitled to ask for. "Mom, we're in trouble," she whispered. Jordan followed behind her, shoulders slumped, jaw tight with the kind of shame that makes a person look older. He nodded at me, polite, small, almost defeated. I motioned them in. "Tell me." Lila sat at the counter, twisting her hands. We thought things would turn around. We kept thinking the next month would get better, but it didn't. Jordan swallowed. My business loan there were penalties. Late fees. Then the interest rate. Look, I should have read the paperwork more carefully. How much I asked. They exchanged a glance before Lila forced it out. $680,000. The air left my lungs, but I didn't let it show. Lila's eyes filled when she saw my silence. I know it's impossible, she said. I know we messed up, but Mom, they're going to sue. We could lose everything. I might lose my job. Jordan's credit is already ruined. Jordan spoke quietly. We came to you because you always find solutions. As if they appeared like loose change in a coat pocket. I opened my laptop. Show me everything. For the next hour. They slid papers across the table. Overdue notices. Loan statements. Penalty letters, an entire collapse laid out in ink. Lila watched my face, searching for reproach. But I didn't give her any. Not yet. When they finished, I closed the folders. You two need more than money. You need structure. Lila flinched. Mom, please, we're drowning. Jordan's voice cracked. If we could fix it ourselves, we would. I had spent my life solving problems quietly, saving for retirement in careful increments, buying a small rental duplex as my safety net, working extra shifts for years at the clinic just to build a cushion. Everything I had built was meant for stability, not rescue missions. But Lila was my only child. I exhaled slowly. If I help, you sign an agreement, a legal one. With repayment terms, Lila nodded too quickly. Yes, anything. Just don't let this destroy us. Jordan lowered his gaze. I will sign whatever you need. They meant it in that moment. Desperation can make people honest. I sold the duplex first. The buyers rushed, offering less than market value. But I took it. Then I liquidated 3 retirement accounts I had protected for decades. The total came to just over $680,000. When the wire finally cleared, Lila hugged me so tightly my ribs ached. You saved our life, she whispered. I held her, knowing she believed it. What I did not know then was how easily gratitude could fade, and how quickly a rescue could become the very thing used to push me aside. I did not draft the contract out of suspicion. I drafted it because I knew myself, because I had spent decades giving without pause. And I could feel the edge of something inside me beginning to fray. If I handed over $680,000 with nothing in writing, I would lose more than money. I would lose the last piece of myself I still protected. 2 days after Lila and Jordan told me about the debt, I called my attorney, Margot Pierce. We had known each other for over 20 years. She was brisk, unflinching, the kind of woman who could turn empathy into action without pitying you. When she answered, her voice came through sharp and clear. Halcyon, what happened? I need a secured loan agreement, I said, fast. How much are we talking, $680,000? A long pause. You are not giving that without terms. I am not, I replied. Margot met me that afternoon in her office. She slid a draft across the table. This protects you. Repayment schedule. Collateral options. And a clause allowing legal action if they default after 6 months. I ran my thumb along the edge of the paper. It feels cold. It feels necessary, she said. When Lila and Jordan arrived, they looked exhausted, shoulders pulled inward as if bracing for impact. Lila sat beside me, her knee bouncing nervously. What is all this? She asked. But an agreement, I said. One that keeps us honest. Jordan leaned forward. Are you saying you don't trust us? I am saying I cannot walk into this with blind faith. Lila's face faltered. Mom, we're already overwhelmed. Do we really need lawyers? Yes, I said simply. We do. Margot kept her tone neutral. Nothing here is unreasonable. It states you borrowed the money, that you intend to repay it, and that Halcyon may pursue legal action if you do not. Jordan stared at the document before him. 6 months. That timeline is impossible. It is a review point. I said, not a demand for full repayment. He didn't respond, but he signed first. Lila picked up the pen with trembling fingers. We're not trying to hurt you. I know, I said, and I did. In that moment, they believed their own promises. They believed they would rise from this disaster with gratitude intact. She signed. Margot gathered the papers and tapped them into a neat stack. Everyone now understands the terms. Lila nodded quickly, as if speeding past discomfort might erase it. Jordan looked relieved, almost buoyant, certain the worst was behind them. None of us imagined that this thin stack of paper signed in desperation, folded neatly into my drawer, would one day decide who still stood beside me and who stepped away. They left believing the agreement would fade into memory. I left knowing it never would. I met Jordan's mother for the first time 3 months after I paid the debt. It was a Sunday brunch in Lake Oswego, the kind of gathering where everyone pretended life was effortless. Lila insisted it would be good for us to connect. Her voice too bright to convince either of us. Colleen Waverly greeted me with a smile that never reached her eyes. Halcyon, finally. I've heard so much about you. Her tone suggested she had heard exactly as much as she wanted to hear. I shook her hand. Thank you for inviting me. Oh, of course, she replied. Family is important, especially with the wedding coming. We want everything to look cohesive. Lila stiffened beside her. I caught the shift. Small but unmistakable. Jordan tried to bridge the tension. Mom, Halcyon helped us through a really tough time. We wouldn't be here without her. Colleen tilted her head. Yes. Well, young people make mistakes. What matters is that we move forward with dignity. Dignity. Her favorite word, a shield polished enough to blind anyone who questioned her authority. As we sat, she placed a hand on Lila's arm. I've already spoken with the planner. The guest list will be selective, intimate. It must reflect who we are as a family. Lila's eyes flicked to me briefly, then away. I kept my voice steady. I assumed I'd be involved in some parts of the planning. Colleen smiled at her drink. Weddings can be overwhelming. It's easier when decisions come from one vision instead of many. One vision. I repeated softly. Exactly, she said. Pleased I understood. Consistency is everything. We simply cannot afford misalignment. Not with the venue we secured. Jordan shifted uncomfortably. Mom? Halcyon, should Colleen cut him off with a light laugh. Darling, no one is questioning her. We just want things to be seamless. She looked at me, her gaze sharp as glass. You understand? I understood far more than she meant. I understood the unspoken rules in her world. Power stays with the person who controls the picture, and I was not part of the picture she intended to display. When brunch ended, Lila hugged me quickly, whispering, Please don't take her personally. She's just intense. She is something, I said. Colleen's car pulled up, glossy and silent. She gave me a polite nod before sliding inside, sealing herself in her curated life. Driving home, I realized Lila no longer stood between us. She stood behind her. The first crack did not arrive as a fight. It arrived as a pause one I almost missed. It was a week after the brunch in Lake Oswego. Lila came by my apartment with a stack of bridal magazines tucked under her arm. She used to knock loudly, impatient and familiar. That day, she tapped gently, as if entering a stranger's home. I opened the door. You look tired. I am fine, she said quickly. Too quickly. She slipped past me and sat on the couch, smoothing the edges of the magazines. I just wanted to get your opinion on a few things. I sat beside her. Of course. She flipped to a page showing a table arrangement, drowning in white roses. Colleen thinks this theme feels elevated. What do you think? I studied her face more than the flowers. Do you like it? She hesitated for half a breath. It's elegant. That is not what I asked. Her fingers tightened on the page. Mom. She knows what looks good. She's hosted charity galas for years. I am sure she has. I said, but this is your wedding. Lila closed the magazine with a soft snap. You're making it sound like I am giving up control, aren't you? Her eyes flashed, defensive and uncertain. Why would you say that? Because you defer to her before you check in with yourself? Or with me? She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out her phone. Colleen wants to finalize the seating chart this week. She said it is easier if she handles it alone, but she has never met most of your side of the family. She said she will work around it. And you agreed. Lila's silence was louder than her words. She finally spoke. Mom, this wedding is important. Colleen has connections. She knows how these events should feel. I just want everything to be perfect. Perfect. I repeated, according to whom. Lila stood abruptly. Can we not do this? I came here to include you. And now you're twisting everything. I am not twisting anything. I am asking if you are still in the room while your wedding is being planned. She exhaled sharply, frustration bubbling beneath her skin. You don't understand her world. She's giving us opportunities. She believes in us. She believes in control. I said gently, there is a difference. Lila flinched. You do not know her. I know the way you shrink when she speaks. Her voice cracked. I am trying. Mom, everything feels like it could fall apart if I say the wrong thing. There it was, the truth tucked behind her defenses. I stepped closer. You do not owe her perfection. You are not marrying her. Lila blinked rapidly, brushing tears away before they fell. Jordan says keeping the peace is easier. His mother gets intense when things aren't her way. And what about your way? She looked at the floor. Maybe mine does not matter as much. Those words hit with a heaviness I could not shake. She gathered her things. I should go. Colleen is calling soon. I walked her to the door. She hugged me, but it was quick. Distracted, an echo of the daughter I used to know. As she stepped into the hallway, I saw it clearly. For the first time, she was slipping somewhere I could not reach. Following a voice louder than mine, a vision, not her own. And she did not even notice she was disappearing. The morning after Lila's visit, I woke before the sun. Not from restlessness, but from an unfamiliar steadiness. It was as if something inside me had finally settled after years of shaking. I sat at the edge of my bed, the silence holding me upright, and reached for my phone. Margot answered on the second ring. Halcyon, is everything all right? I need to review the contract. I said. There was a brief pause. The loan agreement. What happened? My daughter sent me a message last night, I replied. She said I should not come to the wedding because her future mother-in-law does not want me there. Margot exhaled slowly. Halcyon, I'm sorry. I do not want sorry. I want clarity. Tell me the terms again. Her tone sharpened. All business. They agreed to a secured loan of $680,000. Full repayment or renegotiation at the 6-month mark. Failure to comply allows you to initiate legal action and claim collateral. And the 6 months I asked, it expires during the week of the wedding, she said. If you choose to enforce the agreement, the timing aligns. I closed my eyes. I did not anticipate needing this. You protected yourself. Margot said, you did the right thing. I hesitated before answering. I am tired of being the only one who behaves like the adults we were all supposed to become. You have been carrying them for years, she replied. At some point, the carrying has to stop. Her words struck deeper than she knew. Can you prepare a notice, I asked. Not aggressive, just formal. Something that reminds them of the terms. Of course, she said. Do you want it delivered privately or? During their rehearsal dinner, I said quietly. They will all be together. They will read it. And no one can bend the truth to fit their version. Margot didn't speak for a moment. Halcyon. That will cause a scene. A scene already happened. I said, I just was not present for it. The silence stretched between us. Full but not heavy. I will draft the notice today. She said, you will have full control over delivery. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat at my table with a piece of paper and a pen. Something I had not done in years. I used to write lists when life felt overwhelming, small tasks. Steps to follow. Reminders that I still had choices. Today's list was short. 1, review the contract. 2, approve Margot's notice. 3, protect whatever was left of myself. Later that afternoon, Lila called. Her voice was light, too light. Mom, I hope you are not upset about what I said earlier. Things are just tense with Jordan's family. I am not upset. I said, I am aware. She hesitated. I just need everything to go smoothly. I know you do. She waited for something more. But I had nothing left to cushion her with. Are you coming to the fitting next week? She asked. No, I said. I have other matters to handle. She inhaled sharply. A small wound forming in the space between us. Okay, I guess I'll see you later. Goodbye. Layla, when the call ended, I felt no guilt. No anger, only the quiet certainty of someone who had finally placed both feet on solid ground. The line had been drawn, not in spite, but in self-preservation. 3 days before the rehearsal dinner, Lila invited me to the venue just to see the space. Her voice sounded careful, as if each word had been smoothed down before she let it out. I agreed, not because I needed to see it, but because I wanted to see her. The restaurant occupied a renovated warehouse in the Pearl District. Inside, staff hurried between tables draped in ivory linen. Colleen stood near the bar, directing people with the confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. There you are, she said when she spotted us. We were just discussing lighting angles. Lila forced a smile. Mom just wanted to take a look. Colleen gestured toward a wall lined with imported candles. We're creating a specific mood. Sophisticated, warm, elevated. The photographer says these arrangements will flatter everyone. Everyone, I asked. Colleen's eyes flicked to me briefly. Of course. Lila stepped closer to the head table. Mom, what do you think of this setup, the colors, the layout? What do you think? I replied. Her fingers tightened around the fabric of her dress. I think it looks nice. Colleen overheard. It looks more than nice. It looks curated. We cannot afford anything that feels improvised. Jordan entered then, greeting his mother first. Everything looks perfect. Colleen nodded. With enough planning, perfection is achievable. I watched Lila's face as she listened. Her shoulders rose slightly each time her future mother-in-law spoke, as if bracing for correction. Lila, I said gently, are you all right? She turned quickly. I am fine. Just tired. You look overwhelmed. I am not overwhelmed. Her voice wavered. I am just trying to keep everything on track. Jordan joined us. There is a lot riding on this weekend. My mother wants it to be memorable. And what do you want it to be? I asked. He hesitated. I want it to go smoothly. Colleen approached before I could respond. Halcyon, we need to finalize the seating chart. She handed me a printed layout. As you can see, we arranged guests by influence. It keeps conversation flowing. Including my family, I asked. They'll be placed appropriately. Appropriately, I repeated. Colleen smiled. People thrive when they are seated where they belong. Lila's cheeks flushed. Mom. She just means I know what she means, I said. Colleen folded her arms lightly. We all have our roles. Halcyon. Mine is to ensure this event reflects who Lila and Jordan are becoming. And what is my role, I asked. She paused, then delivered the answer like a verdict. To support them without complicating the picture. Lila's breath hitched. Jordan stared at the floor. I set the seating chart on the table. I understand. Colleen nodded, satisfied. Good. Now, the rehearsal dinner begins promptly at 6. We need everyone focused. Everyone except me, I said softly. Lila's head snapped up. Mom, it is all right. I said, you have made your choices. Colleen's expression didn't flicker, but I saw a flicker in Lila's, a thin crack under perfectly applied pressure. As I walked toward the exit, I heard Jordan murmur to his mother, anxious and low. Are you sure everything is handled? Of course, Colleen replied. Nothing will ruin this. But the certainty in her voice trembled, just enough for me to hear it. The morning after visiting the rehearsal venue, I drove straight to Margot's office. I had not slept much, but my thoughts were clear. There was no trembling, no second guessing, just a quiet readiness I had not felt in years. Margot opened the door before I had a chance to knock. You look settled, she said. I am, I replied. Do you have the notice? She handed me a manila folder. It outlines the 6-month review point, the repayment requirement, and the consequences if they have not complied. It is firm but fair. I read the first page carefully. They will not take this well. They were never going to take it well, Margot said. But they agreed to these terms. They signed willingly. I closed the folder. I want it delivered tomorrow evening. During the rehearsal dinner, she asked. Yes. She studied me for a long moment. You are not doing this to embarrass them. No, I said. I am doing this because pretending has stopped working. Margot nodded once. I will arrange a courier, a professional one. No theatrics. Thank you. Before I left, she added, Halcyon, after everything you have given, it is not wrong to expect accountability. Her words landed gently, but they held weight. That afternoon, Lila called again. Her voice carried an edge of breathlessness. Mom, we need to talk about last night. You left so suddenly. I left when the conversation was finished. I said. She hesitated. Colleen thinks there might still be tension between you two. She wants everything peaceful before the wedding. I am not responsible for her peace, I said. Please, Mom, just try not to make things complicated. I am not the one complicating anything. Silence tightened between us, pulled thin. Then she asked, cautious and small. You will not cause a scene, right? No, I said. I will not cause a scene. Relief rushed into her voice. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. I ended the call before anything inside me had a chance to soften. The next day, Margot texted to confirm the courier assignment, a neutral professional who would deliver a sealed envelope addressed to Lila and Jordan at 6:30 in the evening. The precise moment dinner guests would be seated. I read the message twice, then typed my reply. Proceed. When I set the phone down, I felt no triumph, only truth finally stepping into its place. By the time the rehearsal dinner began, the envelope would already be on its way. I was not at the rehearsal dinner, but I knew exactly how the evening began. Lila had described the schedule in detail during one of her frantic calls, how guests would arrive at 6, how the plated service would begin at 6:30, how the photographer would take candid shots of everyone laughing as if none of them had ever known a moment of fear. At 6:32, the courier stepped through the doors. I learned the rest from 3 separate phone calls later that night, none of which came from Lila. The courier walked to the front desk with a sealed manila envelope, his voice steady. Delivery for Lila Ames and Jordan Waverly. The hostess nodded toward the long table draped in white linen. They're right over there. Lila looked up as the courier approached. Confusion flickering across her face. Jordan saw the envelope next and stiffened. Colleen noticed the shift in the air before anyone spoke. "What is that?" she asked sharply. The courier set it on the table. "A legal notice requiring signature." He pointed to the label. "It belongs to both of you." Colleen placed her hand over it. "There must be some mistake." The courier kept his expression neutral. "No mistake, ma'am." Jordan reached for the envelope. "We're in the middle of dinner. It requires acknowledgement now." The courier replied, "My instructions are clear." Colleen's gaze hardened. "Let me see it." Before either Lila or Jordan could protest, Colleen tore open the flap and unfolded the first page. The room shifted, voices dropping, forks pausing midair. "What is this?" she demanded, scanning the text in quick, jerking movements. A secured loan, a 6-month review, legal consequences for failure to comply. Her eyes snapped to Jordan. "Did you borrow money without telling me?" Jordan swallowed. "It's not like that." Lila's voice trembled. "Mom, give it back." Colleen ignored her and turned to the next page. $680,000. Her voice rose hard enough to crack. Where did this come from? And when? Jordan paled. "Mom, stop! Stop!" Colleen stabbed her finger at the paper. "Is this the reason you two have been acting strange for months? This enormous debt you apparently hid from everyone." Lila tried to pull the envelope from her hands. "Please, not here." Colleen yanked it back. "You let Halcyon uncover this. You took her money." She stared at them as though they were strangers. "And you signed a contract with her behind our backs." Guests murmured, eyes drifting toward the chaos. Someone whispered, 680,000. Another murmured, "Legal action." Jordan's father leaned in, his voice low but audible. "Jordan, did you really keep something this big from your own family?" Jordan looked at the floor. "We were overwhelmed. We thought we could fix it before what?" Colleen snapped. "Before it reached me." Lila's breath shook. "This isn't fair." Fair. Colleen's laugh came out sharp. "You lied to everyone at this table." And now she waved the papers in the air. "Now we learn you're about to be sued if you haven't magically repaid $680,000 by this week." Jordan pressed his palms to his face. "Please, just stop." Lila finally broke. "We were scared. We didn't know what to do, and Halcyon did." Colleen shot back. "She swoops in, pays nearly $700,000, and writes a contract like she knew you'd fail. This is manipulation." Jordan's father intervened quietly. "Colleen, blaming Halcyon won't change the facts." Colleen whipped toward him. She ambushed them. "No," he said calmly. She protected herself. Silence rippled across the table. Then someone asked, "So, what happens now?" Jordan read the final line of the notice aloud, voice cracking. "Failure to comply will result in immediate legal action and potential seizure of agreed collateral." Colleen's face drained of color. Collateral. What collateral? Lila couldn't speak. Jordan whispered, ashamed. "The house." The room erupted half-whispers, stunned gasps, questions layered over questions. A server froze mid-step. Cameras lowered. Glasses trembled against plates. Colleen stared at her son, her voice suddenly thin. "You put our home on the line, and you never told me." Jordan lifted his head, eyes wet. "It was not your home. It was ours, and we were drowning." For a moment, no one moved. The Waverly veneer, the perfect family. The curated life crumpled like paper in the heat. The courier collected his signature and quietly left. Behind him, the truth stayed, and it did not blink. After the courier left, no one moved. The envelope lay open on the linen table, its pages exposed like something wounded. Servers froze at the edges of the room. Guests quieted. Colleen was the first to react. "You are not going to let her do this," she hissed, pointing at the contract. "You are not going to let Halcyon threaten us." Lila shook her head. "It is not a threat. We agreed to it. We needed her. You needed to come to us." Colleen snapped. Richard quietly intervened. "They did come. Just not about this. Because I would never have allowed it," Colleen said. Jordan looked up, eyes red. "That is exactly why we did not tell you." The table fell silent. Colleen glared. "You think I care more about reputation than my own child?" Jordan's voice broke. "You do." Lila wiped her cheeks. "We were drowning." Mom listened. Colleen scoffed. "She exploited you. She made you sign a contract like criminals." Richard cut in. "She protected herself. $680,000 is not pocket change." Whispers rose around the table. "They put the house up as collateral." $680,000. Lila trembled. "We thought we would catch up. Repay her quietly." How Colleen snapped. "With what plan?" Jordan whispered. "I had clients coming. Hopes." Richard corrected. "Not a plan." Colleen's voice cracked. "Do you understand what people will think?" "You mean what they will think of you?" Lila asked softly. Colleen turned back to them. "You will fix this. You will make her tear this up." "We cannot make her do anything," Jordan said. "We signed." "She is my mother," Lila whispered. "She will not push this far," Richard answered gently. "She already acted. This is consequence, not cruelty." Colleen slammed her hand on the table. "I will not let some retired woman dictate my family." Lila stared at her. "Am I yours now?" "More than hers." Her voice cracked. Tears spilled. Jordan pulled her close. "She did not want this." Richard murmured. "You had a chance. You needed responsibility too." A nearby guest stood hesitantly. "Maybe we should give them space." Within moments, chairs slid back. Murmured excuses filled the room. And the polished rehearsal dinner dissolved. Colleen whispered, "It was supposed to be perfect." Jordan answered, "It was never perfect. It was just hidden." When Richard called me that night, his voice was heavy. It had to happen. Not like this, but it had to. The performance was over, and all that remained on that white table was the truth. The call came just after midnight. My phone lit the dark of my bedroom, and for a moment I considered letting it ring. But the caller ID, Lila pulled me upright before the second buzz. I answered, "Lila." Her breath came in broken pulls. "Mom, please don't hang up." "I was not planning to." A soft sob cracked through the line. "Everything exploded tonight. Colleen is furious. Jordan will not even look at her." People left before dessert was served. Her voice collapsed under the weight of it. I waited until she steadied. "Tell me what happened." She opened the envelope. Lila said. She read the contract out loud. "She made it sound like you were punishing us." Another sob slipped out. "But it was not you. It was us. We signed it. We agreed to everything. And I never told her." "You did not have to tell her," I said, "Miss. It was between you, Jordan, and me." "I know," she whispered. But she kept saying I betrayed the family, that I shamed them, that I let someone like you, her voice shrank, have power over them. I exhaled. "Someone like me. That is not what I meant." She rushed. "I swear. I did not mean it that way. I let her talk for so long that I forgot how to push back." And now, silence rustled on the other end. Then Mom. I kept spending. My chest tightened. On what little things at first. She said, "Clothes for events Colleen made me attend. gifts for her friends, dinners she insisted we host. She would say, "This is how we maintain our image." And I didn't want her to think I didn't belong. She swallowed hard. Then it got worse. I used a credit card I should have cut up. I hid the statements from Jordan. I told myself I would fix it before you ever found out. And did he know any of this? No, she whispered. He thought the debt was shrinking. He thought we were doing better. I kept my voice even. How much? Her answer came out small. Almost 30,000. The room felt colder. Not because of the amount, but because of the pattern, familiar, repeating, unbroken. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because I was ashamed. She cried. Because I thought if I just held everything together long enough, things would get better. And because Colleen kept saying the right wedding could change our future. And I believed her. I closed my eyes, listening to the girl beneath her voice, the one who used to climb into my bed after nightmares. "Mom," she whispered, "I never meant to hurt you. I know you didn't mean to." I said, "But you did." Her breath hitched. "Do you hate me?" "No," I answered, "but I will not pretend anymore." "What does that mean?" "It means the contract stands," I said. "You and Jordan will face what you signed. You will rebuild honestly or not at all." She cried again, softer this time. "I want to fix it. I do. But everything feels like it is falling apart. Maybe that is what needs to happen first." I said gently, "On the line." She breathed shakily, like someone finally letting go of a lie too heavy to carry. "Will you meet us?" she asked. "Tomorrow we need to talk, all of us. For that." I said, "I will come." I landed back in Portland just after noon. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind that promised rain without asking permission. I took the train from the airport, watching my reflection flicker against the window, older, sharper, steadier than the last time I had looked at myself this closely. By the time I reached my apartment building, a fine mist had turned into steady drops. I climbed the steps, key in hand, and froze when I saw them. Lila, Jordan, and, to my surprise, Richard Jordan's father. They stood clustered under the overhang, rain beating on their shoulders. Lila looked like she had not slept. Jordan looked like he had aged 10 years overnight. Richard looked resigned in a way that reminded me of someone who had spent a lifetime cleaning up after storms he never caused. Lila took one step toward me. "Mom, thank you for coming. I said I would." I replied. Her throat tightened. "I did not know if you would still want to see us." "I am here," I said. "That is enough for now." Jordan cleared his throat. "Halcyon, I owe you an apology. Several, actually. You owe me honesty." I said, "Apologies can come later." He nodded, accepting the shift in power without protest. Richard stepped forward, his voice low. "Halcyon, may we come inside? We should talk somewhere private." "Yes," I said, unlocking the door. "But I will not carry this conversation for anyone inside." They stood awkwardly in the living room, unsure whether to sit or remain upright. It struck me how different this was from the Waverly home. No curated perfection, no expensive staging, no towering pressure. Just walls, worn-in furniture, and the echoes of choices that had finally caught up to all of us. Lila broke first. "Mom, I am so sorry for the message, for the lies, for everything at the dinner. I did not know how to stop it once it started." I met her gaze. Stopping it was never the issue. "You did not try," she wilted, shoulders folding inward. "I was afraid." "Of your future mother-in-law," I said. "Not of losing me." Her tears returned silently this time. Jordan spoke next. "I should have told you the truth months ago, about my business failing, about the risks I took, about the house being listed as collateral. I hid all of it because I did not want you to see me as irresponsible." I saw you. I said, you just did not want to see yourself. Richard let out a breath. This should have come from me sooner. I knew something was wrong, but I looked the other way. Colleen, she has a way of convincing people that image is more important than truth. That is her choice. I said, not mine. He nodded, somber, understood. Lila reached for my hand, hesitated, then let her fingers rest on mine. We want to fix this, not the way she wants, the way we should have done from the beginning. I did not squeeze her hand back, but I did not pull away. Then tomorrow, we sit at the table not as defendants, not as victims, but as adults. Jordan swallowed. We will be here. I stepped back, giving them space to leave. Rest tonight. Tomorrow is the real conversation. As they walked out into the thinning rain, none of them looked relieved. They looked ready, or at least willing to try. They arrived the next morning at 9 sharp. Lila brought a notebook clutched to her chest, as if she needed something to hold herself together. Jordan looked hollow, but calmer than the night before. Richard followed. Shoulders set with the steady resolve of a man who had finally stopped pretending he could buffer everyone from consequences. I had already cleared the dining table and set out a folder. No coffee, no small talk. That had all been burned away. Sit, I said. They did. Lila spoke first. Mom, thank you for seeing us again. I told you I would. I said, now let us begin. Jordan leaned forward. We want to make this right. Whatever you need us to do. This is not about what I need. I cut in. It is about what you agreed to and what you will do next. Lila looked down at her folded hands. We know we failed. You did not fail, I replied. You avoided reality. And now the bill has arrived. Richard nodded slowly. We are ready to hear the terms. There are 3 paths, I said, sliding the folder toward the center. You will choose one. Lila swallowed. 3. Yes. I opened the first page and read it aloud. Option 1. Full repayment through liquidation. The house is worth nearly $800,000. With a sale, closing costs, and remaining equity, you can repay a significant portion immediately. Anything owed beyond that becomes a structured repayment. Lila's eyes widened. Mom, selling the house. That is everything Jordan and I have left. Jordan stared at the document. We could do it. But we would be starting from nothing. You are already starting from nothing, I said. The difference is honesty. Lila's breath shook. Jordan rubbed his forehead with the heel of his hand. I turned to the next page. Option 2. A structured repayment plan overseen by Margot. Monthly payments based on income, quarterly reviews, and financial transparency. No new credit cards, no discretionary spending beyond essentials. This option requires commitment and discipline. Jordan nodded slowly. This is doable. It is only doable, I said, if you both remain honest. Lila whispered, I can do that. I held her gaze. Can you? She faltered, then nodded again. Yes. I want to. Richard exhaled, relieved but cautious. Then I opened the final page. And option 3. The wedding is postponed until financial therapy is completed, a program requiring 1 month of counseling, budgeting classes, and accountability exercises. No gifts, no financial support, no outside influence, including Colleen. Lila's lips parted in shock. No wedding. Not yet, I said. Not until the 2 of you learn how to build something grounded in truth. A marriage cannot grow from debt and secrets. Jordan looked torn, as though he could see both the necessity and the devastation. Richard spoke gently. Son, this is not punishment. Jordan laughed bitterly. It feels like one. It feels like consequence, I replied. You cannot plan a wedding on sinking ground. Lila's voice cracked. Mom, I wanted this wedding to be perfect. I just wanted one good thing. You wanted approval, I said softly. You wanted to belong in a world that never intended to make space for you. Her chest rose sharply. That is not true. It is, I said, and you have been bending yourself backward for a woman who measured you by how well you reflected her. Jordan lowered his gaze. She tried to control everything. She did, I said. And you let her. Both of you. Silence spread across the table. Not empty full. Heavy. Lila looked up, tears trembling at the edges. Which option do you want us to choose? That is not my decision, I said. It is yours. I will not choose the future you have to live in, but you will choose something today. Jordan reached for Lila's hand. She let him hold it this time. He spoke first. Option 2, the structured repayment. It is the most realistic. Lila nodded, though fear flickered behind her eyes. Yes, option 2, and I want the therapy too. Even if the wedding is not postponed. I need it. That surprised me, not the words, but the honesty inside them. Richard sat back, relieved. Good. That sounds right. I gathered the pages. Then we will schedule a meeting with Margot to finalize the plan. Lila brushed her tears away. Thank you for giving us choices. Even after everything, I shook my head. I did not give you choices. I gave you boundaries. What you do with them is up to you. Jordan nodded, solemn. We will not waste this chance. As they rose from the table, I saw something new, not certainty, not victory. Intention. The first true step toward responsibility. We met again 2 days later, this time at Richard's house, neutral territory. He had insisted, if we do this at my home, Colleen will have to behave, he said. But even he did not sound convinced. The moment we stepped inside, Colleen was already pacing the living room, heels clicking like impatient metronomes. She turned sharply when she saw me. I assume you are here to retract this nonsense, she said, waving a copy of the contract like a threat. No, I replied. I am here so we can discuss the next steps. There are no next steps, she snapped. There is only the wedding, and you will not derail it. Lila winced. Jordan took a small step closer to her. Like instinct, Richard rubbed his temples. Colleen, please sit. She did not. I took my seat instead. We have already outlined the plan. The structured repayment begins next month. Transparency, joint budgeting, and financial accountability. Lila and Jordan agreed. Colleen laughed a short, brittle sound. They agreed under pressure. They are terrified. You cornered them. Jordan spoke up. Voice steady but strained. No one cornered us. Mom, we signed the contract 6 months ago. We ignored it. That is on us. Colleen spun toward him. You expect me to believe you willingly signed away that much control I did not know what else to do. He said, we were drowning. You had us, she snapped. Jordan met her eyes. We had your expectations, not your help. That landed sharply. Richard stiffened, waiting for the explosion. Colleen blinked hard. I have always helped you. You protected your image, Jordan said quietly. Not us. Lila inhaled. Shaky. He is right. Colleen whipped around. You too. Lila's voice trembled, but she did not look away. I tried so hard to keep everything perfect. For you. For your friends. For the way you wanted our life to look. And Mom was the only one who saw how scared I was. She filled your head with weakness. Colleen hissed. You were confident until she interfered. I was exhausted, Lila said, not confident. I stayed silent. These were words that needed to pass between them without me carrying or cushioning any of it. Jordan stepped in again. We are not postponing the wedding because of Halcyon. We are considering postponing it because we cannot keep pretending nothing is wrong. Colleen's face twisted. Pretending. You think the world will sympathize with your carelessness, your debt. The embarrassment you brought on this family, there is no family without truth, Richard said firmly. We have faked enough for one lifetime. Colleen stared at her husband, stunned. You are siding with them. I am siding with what is real, he said. Our son's life is collapsing, and you are worried about invitations. Lila gripped Jordan's hand, voice cracking. Mom, I am tired of being afraid of disappointing you. You should be afraid. Colleen shouted. You owe us respect. Lila stepped back as if slapped. Jordan moved in front of her. I finally spoke. Respect cannot be demanded. It is earned. Colleen's gaze shot toward me, razor sharp. You caused this. You poisoned them. No, I said calmly. Your control is breaking. I only stopped holding it up for you. The room fell silent. Colleen's breath came fast, furious. If you think I will let you ruin this wedding, Colleen, Richard interrupted, the wedding will be their decision, not yours. Something inside her snapped at that. She grabbed her bag, shaking with rage, and marched toward the door. You can all destroy your lives if you wish, she said, turning back once. But you will not drag me down with you. She slammed the door behind her. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Lila whispered, voice trembling but relieved. I never thought she would leave. Jordan exhaled like he had been holding his breath for years. Maybe this is where things finally start to make sense. Richard sank into a chair. Let her go. She will come back when she is ready, or when she realizes control is not love. For the first time since the debt came to light, the room felt open, painful, raw, but open, and no one moved toward the door to chase after her. 3 days later, we sat in Margot's office, neutral ground again. But this time the tension felt different, not the brittle, defensive kind that comes before collapse, but the heavy, deliberate kind that comes before rebuilding. Lila and Jordan sat side by side. Hands laced together, Richard claimed a chair along the wall, giving them space but staying present. There was no sign of Colleen. No one asked where she was. Margot adjusted her glasses and clicked her pen. All right. We have the revised terms ready. Before we review them, I want to confirm that everyone here is choosing this freely. Jordan nodded. Yes, we need this. Lila squeezed his hand. We both do. I kept my voice steady. I am not here to punish you. I am here to make sure you do not drown again. Lila's eyes softened. I know, Mom. Margot unfolded the packet. The structure is simple. Monthly payments based on income. No new debt. No discretionary spending beyond necessities. Quarterly financial check-ins. Joint budgeting. And full transparency. Jordan chewed his lip. And the therapy mandatory. Margot said, you will attend a 4-week financial rehabilitation program. No credit cards. No outside financial support. No contact with anyone trying to intervene or manipulate the process. Richard huffed softly. That last clause is for my wife. I assume. Margot didn't smile. If the shoe fits. Jordan straightened. I want the program. I need discipline. I need structure. I cannot keep pretending I know what I'm doing when I clearly do not. Lila nodded, voice trembling. I want it too. I am tired of living from panic to panic. Margot slid the packet forward. Review the terms. Then sign. They read in silence. Only the soft hum of the air vent filled the room. Lila wiped her cheek once. Jordan let out a long, slow breath, as if shedding years of denial. When they reached the signature page, Jordan looked at me. Halcyon, before we sign, I want to say something. I nodded. Go ahead. I blamed you for things that were never your fault. He said, I said you were controlling when really, I was scared. You stepped in when you did not owe us anything. And I treated your help like an insult. I am sorry. I waited, letting the weight of his words settle. Thank you. That matters. Then Lila turned to me. Mom, I kept secrets because I thought truth would make you love me less. And all it did was make me lose myself. She swallowed. I cannot promise I will never falter again, but I can promise I will not hide. I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers. That is all I ever wanted. She inhaled shakily. Then I am ready to sign. Together, they wrote their names on the agreement. The signatures were not perfect, Jordan's shaky, Lila's uneven, but they were real. Margot stamped the final page. Congratulations! You have just taken the first step toward financial adulthood. Jordan laughed, hollow but honest. Feels like the first step toward something. Richard stood from his chair. I am proud of you. Both of you. Lila looked surprised. Even after all this? Especially after all this, he said. Facing the truth is harder than hiding. Margot handed them an intake packet. Your program begins Monday morning. Pack lightly. They do not allow distractions. Lila blinked. No phone, no phone. Margot confirmed. Jordan exhaled. That might actually help. Richard smiled faintly. A month without your mother's texts might save your sanity. Lila looked down. She will not forgive us for doing this without her. That is her work, I said quietly. Not yours. They gathered their folders. Standing slowly, a shift had taken place, not dramatic, not loud, but solid. Before they left, Lila stepped close and touched my arm. Mom, thank you for giving us a way forward. You gave yourselves the way forward. I said. I only held the line. Jordan nodded. We will not waste it. As they walked out of the office, shoulders still bent from the weight they carried, but moving with purpose, I felt something I had not felt since the debt first surfaced. Not triumph, not vindication, just the quiet promise of change beginning, one signed boundary at a time. The original wedding date came and went quietly. No orchestra, no catered rehearsal, no curated perfection arranged by Colleen Waverly. Instead, on that Saturday morning, Lila called me from the financial therapy center. Her voice was tired but clear. Mom, she said, I am glad we postponed it. So am I. There was no bitterness between us. No rehearsed pleasantries, just truth. Something we had not shared cleanly in years. 4 weeks later, she came out of the program looking different. Not polished, not remade, just real. Jordan had changed to less bravado, more grounded certainty. They were rebuilding, brick by brick, without the scaffolding of denial. And then, one evening, standing in my kitchen with her hands clasped tightly together, Lila said, We want a wedding, a real one, but small, and we want you to be the first person we invite. I felt her words before I heard them. Are you sure? I asked quietly. Yes, she said. This time, it starts with you. The modest ceremony was held in a small botanical hall tucked behind a community center in southeast Portland. 24 chairs. Soft lighting. No dramatic displays. No performances. No Colleen Waverly orchestrating entrances. Richard attended alone, offering a quiet nod to me as he took a seat. She is not coming, he murmured. She said she will not witness a wedding that doesn't follow her standards. That is her choice. I replied. He exhaled. I am relieved, frankly. When Lila appeared at the end of the aisle, She did not wear the couture gown Colleen had insisted on months earlier. Instead, she wore a simple ivory dress with sleeves she had sewn herself at the center during a rebuilding rituals class. Jordan's eyes filled when he saw her. That alone told me the therapy had done its job. Before the officiant began, Lila turned to the guests. "We want to start with gratitude," she said, looking at me directly. "To the person who taught us that boundaries are love and that truth is worth facing." The room shifted, softened. My breath caught. But I didn't look away. Jordan added, "We made mistakes. Big ones. But we learned that starting over is not the same as failing." A small ripple of acknowledgement passed through the guests, many of whom knew some version of the chaos, but none of the reasons. Then the ceremony began. No one rushed. No one whispered about scandal. No one staged photographs for prestige. They exchanged vows that sounded like they belonged to actual human beings, not curated personalities. "I want to build a life we can afford with honesty," Jordan said. "Not debt. I want to stand with you," Lila replied, "not behind someone else's expectations." When they kissed, it was not perfect. It was genuine. Afterward, the guests mingled over slices of lemon cake made by a local bakery. Lila pulled me aside near a row of potted ferns. "Mom," she said softly, "I know I cannot undo everything that happened. I know." I said, "But I can keep choosing different." She paused. "And I want you in every part of my life from here. Not because I need rescuing, but because I finally understand what it means to have a mother who tells the truth." Emotion rose in my throat, but I kept my voice steady. "Then I am here." Jordan joined us, his expression earnest. "Thank you for giving us the chance to rebuild ourselves before we tried to build a wedding." "You rebuilt yourselves," I corrected. He smiled. "Not without the line you drew." We stepped back into the circle of guests, into new ground we had all earned. There was no orchestra, no curated spectacle, no controlling hand shaping the day. Just a family choosing each other, this time without debt, without lies, and without permission from anyone who did not belong in the life they were creating. 3 months after the wedding, the rhythm of our lives finally settled into something that resembled steadiness. Not perfection, just truth. And truth, I learned, was enough. Jordan and Lila came by every other Sunday with updates from their financial program. They brought spreadsheets instead of excuses, plans instead of panic. Their repayment schedule rolled forward without interruption. Each month carved into manageable portions, no surprises, no hidden spending, no frantic phone calls begging for rescue. One afternoon, as rain tapped lightly against my window, they sat across from me with their paperwork spread out on the table. We made our third payment. Jordan said, "On time," Lila added, "and we built an emergency fund. It is small, but it exists." I nodded. "That is more than you had a year ago." Lila hesitated. "Mom, does it feel strange not having to fix our problems anymore?" "No," I said. "It feels like breathing." She let out a shaky laugh, relief loosening her shoulders. Jordan reached for her hand, different from before. Gentler, more intentional. Richard visited occasionally too, sometimes with a casserole, sometimes just to check in. He never spoke about Colleen unless asked. And even then, he kept his answers careful. "She is adjusting," he said once, very slowly, "but distance has been good for everyone." "Distance is sometimes the only medicine," I replied. He nodded, a sad acceptance in his eyes. She built a world she could control. Now she has to live in the one she cannot. After he left, I stood at my dining table, letting the quiet settle. The same table where everything had nearly collapsed. The same table where it all finally began to heal. Later that evening, I opened the drawer of my writing desk. Inside lay the original contract, crisp, notarized. Signed on a day when silence had become too heavy to bear. I kept it not for leverage, not for anger, for truth. It was the moment I stopped letting love be the reason I let myself disappear. As I held the papers, there was a soft knock at my door. Lila peeked in. "Mom, before we go, I wanted to ask something." "Yes." "Do you ever regret enforcing the contract?" I closed the drawer gently. "No, because it saved us." She stepped inside fully then, emotion rising in her voice. "It saved me too. I would still be drowning if you hadn't drawn that line. You walked the rest of the way." I said, "I only opened the door." She wrapped her arms around me carefully, as if holding something fragile and sacred. Not as a child needing rescue, as a woman who finally understood boundaries were not walls. When she pulled back, she whispered, "I am proud of you." The words surprised me. They warmed places inside me I did not know were still cold. After they left, the apartment settled into its familiar hum. I returned to the drawer one last time, resting my hand on the contract, not to relive the past, to honor the day I stopped apologizing for surviving. If you've followed this journey, if any part of it echoed something in your own life like this chapter, leave a comment or hit subscribe. Stories like this matter because women like us learn, finally, that we are allowed to take up space.